Okay, we are live. Cool. Let's give
Sweet.
everybody a second to get here. I'm really excited for this because we did that recording a
Yeah,
while
that's
back,
been a while.
and I loved hearing about it. Like I got emotional from that. It was intense, but then things happened and we weren't able to finish the second half. And now that we get to do it live and have chat interaction, that's going to be really exciting.
Sweet. Yeah, no, definitely. It's been a while since we could get back on here.
Yeah,
Also, some technical difficulties on
yeah,
my
but
part.
you know what? It worked out, and that's what matters.
Exactly.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Okay, I guess we are good to. If you want to introduce your background before anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like the title probably suggests, I'm a U.S. Marine. Well, no longer active, but you know what they say: once Marine, always Marine. That still holds true to me as well. And yeah, basically, I did 8 years in the Marine Corps. My primary MOS was infantry. I was a 0311 rifleman. And when I enlisted, I became the platoon radio operator, did my deployments, came back. I then did Marine Security Guard, which is basically a embassy duty. So I went around the world to do that, and I was also a warfighting instructor for Marine officers, basically teaching them, my bread and butter, which was infantry stuff. And I did that for 8 years. Um, uh, Definitely had its ups and downs, but the Marine Corps got theirs out of me, and I got mine out of the Marine Corps. So when it came time to call it quits, I realized I did everything I wanted to do in the Marine Corps, and I got out. And I didn't realize was how much I was actually going to miss it. There's a lot of that infantry mindset still like inside me. I'm really starting to miss this stuff. I really, really started missing a lot of the infantry stuff. But before I go further on, I do got to point out that I have not seen combat in my time in the Marine Corps. First time I ever got a taste of that was in Ukraine, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. Should I stop for any questions from there, or to
I
continue
think
forward?
we should start off with what your motivation was. Obviously,
Okay,
like
yeah, I
we
can go
all
with
know
that.
the motivation to an extent, but give me the details.
Yeah, so everyone has different motivations. For me personally, as basically just kind of finished off talking about, a lot of that infantry mindset was still inside me. I kind of started missing the Marine Corps when I got out. Um, and once when Russia invaded, sometimes I joke about Russia invaded on the day of my birthday, and I kind of joke that that's why I went there because I took that personally.
They ruined your birthday.
That's not the yeah, but that's not the real case. Honestly, um, I just saw what was happening. I didn't like what was going on. Um, I didn't have anything really at home because I just got out. I had a house and I had a dog, but that was pretty much it. My relationship had already ended a while back, so there was nothing keeping me here. And I'm a very purpose-driven kind of guy. I'm just like, this is a purpose I can get behind on. Um, and I thought it was just wrong, and I saw all that was happening, and I think like 2 days later, I just called my work and said like, hey, I want to go to Ukraine. And granted, I had a very nice job at the time. I had a security clearance going to Ukraine, could very well lose my clearance. And it actually took a while. For one, it was very short notice, and they had to find someone to cover my shift. Luckily, a man that his wife was Ukrainian heard that I was trying to go over there to volunteer. He volunteered to take all my shifts, which was awesome. But that took a while to get that organized. Um, Yeah, they said like I can't if I go there to fight and stuff like that, I could lose my clearance and thus lose my job. And it was a really good job. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go there as a medic.
Hmm.
And when I told them I want to be as a volunteer medic, they approved that. And they told me we'll give you 3 weeks to go there. Honestly, I don't blame you if you stay longer than 3 weeks, but that's as long as I can hold your job because if you don't work for us for 3 weeks, higher up is gonna start asking questions and wondering why has this guy not been working for 3 weeks? I just started working too, so basically he said, "3 weeks, you can go there, volunteer medic. Don't come back before then, you lose your job." But I still had a lot of motivation to like, well, I really wanted to go, so I still went with it. I'm a big fan of history. I love getting into like the Korean War, World War II, going to the Cold War, and the Chechen War, and I just have my certain views of like Russia and like being the aggressor, the aggressor, and Putin basically ordering this invasion of Ukraine. I really just didn't like it. So morally, I didn't think it was right. And seeing a lot of like the Ukrainians flee and hearing like, there's not a lot of people with experience picking up rifles to go fight and stuff like that. I thought like, hey, like I'm a perfect fit. I have the 8 years of experience. I know how to teach. I was an instructor for warfighting for crying out loud. I mean, I'm an infantryman. It's my bread and butter. I know this stuff. I love this stuff. Like I'll go over there. And if I don't fight, I'm proficient at medical. I can help with medical things. I can help instruct and teach how to fight. Um, I thought like, hey, this is a good opportunity. This is something that I want to try for. I thought it was like really like my calling, and I hope that I was a little bit numb too from like just you know life in general, just not really going anywhere for me. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Hell yeah, let's live a little.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's like sense of
but,
purpose plus moral righteousness.
exactly. And I mean, granted, I want to repeat again. I've not seen combat before. And even though I've read a lot of books and read a lot of memoirs about people talking about what combat was like, I always told myself like combat's nothing to take you know around. It's not romantic. It's gruesome. It's terrible. I told myself like I know this. I'll be fine. I know what I'm getting into.
Hmm.
But when you actually experience it for the first hand, it's just makes your butthole pucker up, and it's a really big like oh shit moment. And really take brings you into reality
Yeah.
pretty quickly. But um, you know, I'll, I'll definitely get into that here shortly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
It sounds
yeah, I
like,
thought I knew
yeah.
exactly what I was getting into, but um,
Yeah.
you know,
Let's see. So the next thing I would naturally ask is after you asked for the time off and got it, like, did you just buy the ticket and go? Was there research that had to be done?
yes, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I would have completely skipped over that. So there was a lot of research. I started off with like looking online, going on Facebook. I had my personal like plate carriers already. I started looking for IFAKs and stuff like that, and I didn't have a Kevlar helmet. I knew it was gonna be important, and it's kind of funny. Like I just posted on my own personal Facebook, like, "Hey, anyone that has a Kevlar helmet, I can borrow." That's all I said. I didn't want to go into more details because again, I was worried about my clearance, and I was worried about my parents finding out. Actually, went on Facebook and like went in the settings to adjust it to where my parents wouldn't see that Facebook post. Um, but they did anyways because my grandparents saw it, screenshot it, and sent it to my mom, and she started asking questions. But before I get into that, um, I posted that, and then one of my buddies went to camp with hit me up saying, "Hey, Ukraine,
Oh,
just
hold on, you're
like
glitching out a
trying
little
to hit
bit.
Ukraine."
Uh, let's give your Wi-Fi a
Yep.
second. Uh,
Okay,
okay, I think you're good. Go ahead.
awesome. Um, yeah, so one of my Marine buddies, I went to boot camp, saw that post and hit me up, and we started talking. And next thing you know, we were in a group chat that was like named like Allied Defense Force, little group chat. A bunch of people started coming together that like former military, some British, Canadian, American Marines, some Army. we're all like in this group chat and we're sharing information about like how to get to the border and like how to go to the embassies and stuff and what number to contact. Um, Tried to do that, and then I guess I got hacked. Get Russia to try to stop um, the
You said
flow
the
of
website
volunteer
got
fighters
hacked?
from going over there. So we had to, yeah, like it wasn't working anymore.
Mhm.
So I had to try to call the Ukrainian embassy in America. When I did that, the guy's English was just really bad. It was not good. I couldn't understand. But I had a Ukrainian friend on Facebook. Shout out to Henry if you're listening to this. I actually messaged him and asked him if he can call on my behalf. He called and gave me all the information. Said like there's a lot of interference from the outside, with the websites and taking information and stuff like that. And said it might take a little while. And they were asking for me to send my DD-214, which is basically a letter saying that I have served and what my job was, because they don't want to have people volunteering to come in that have no combat experience or like the skills, because you don't want to spend the time training someone that's not trained. You want someone that's already proficient to go there, given a rifle, and just fight. Um, but then I started hearing on the group chat that if you just go to the border, they'll let you in, and you go to leave, and here's some contact information, phone number, person to meet, location to go to. Go here, and they'll get you sorted out. I thought, great, this is awesome. And then I found out you got to sign a contract. I'm like, I can't sign a contract. If I sign a contract, I'm definitely losing my job.
Yeah.
Um, so me and my buddy, the Marine from boot camp, we started scheming, saying like, I'm pretty sure if we show up to the front lines, we can figure out how to get involved. Um, so we decided to just completely skip it because I was only going to go there for 3 weeks. He said he might stay there longer. But I was going to go there for 3 weeks, and if we went there to go join up the volunteer foreign fighters, there's going to be training. There's going to be sitting in like the volunteer barracks and stuff like that, and that's just going to be time wasting. I just want to get in there straight into the fight, not waste any time. So that was pretty much the plan that we had. We're constantly looking at like combat footages, looking at see how the war is going, trying to look at Russia's tactics. We looked at where was like the most bloodiest. We came to the conclusion that the front coming from Crimea over in the Kharkiv, or excuse me, yeah, coming from Crimea was like very like bloody. Russia's making good advances there, and the Donbass region coming in from the east looked really bad, and a lot of Ukrainians were potential being circled, and we didn't want to be captured. So it was like, you know what, the best place looks like Kiev. So that's our game plan. We're gonna go to Kiev, and we're gonna make sure we stay on the left side of the Dnieper River. So that's where we thought was like the best chance for survival, and to get to the front lines. So that was kind of like our game plan. Eventually, after going to many like military surplus stores, we did get some Kevlar helmets, camouflaged it up, got some like cami nettings on there and everything like that. I had to do the COVID test, and we're keeping in touch with some guys that were about to head over to Ukraine. Still, some of them already got there, told us what the border was like, what border point entry we had to go through. Um, yeah, I mean, there's those guys. Those are the guys that actually have the experience. We're all on the same page. They're going over there and they're serious. And then there's other guys that call, or excuse me, that message. Some random guy from Kentucky messaged me saying like, "Hey, how'd you get permission to go over there?" I'm like, "Oh, I started getting the details. Just contact the embassy, or here's this information." It's like, are you a veteran, a combat veteran?" And he's like, "Nope, I'm just a good old good guy from Kentucky with a can-do attitude, and I can take a punch." I think he said something about like shooting himself in the foot with a 45 once and walked it off. And all he needs is a rifle and a couple explosives, and you'll make Russia pay. I'm just like, it's all you, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna help you. I don't suggest going, but if you do, just listen to what everyone else tells you to, and good luck. Um, yeah, if you're like that, don't go.
Yeah.
Especially if you shot yourself in the foot or something. It's like, don't do that, man. You
Because
know,
it
it's
sounds badass is not a good reason to fight in a foreign war.
exactly. And honestly, I don't want somebody that shot themselves in the foot. That's a no go.
Yeah.
Because friendly fire is a real thing. Um, and I definitely experienced that too firsthand. That's not fun at all.
Mm.
Um, so I can't even imagine somebody that doesn't know his way around a pistol and shot himself in the foot going to Ukraine. It's you'd be doing more harm than good. And honestly, a lot of people like that got through the cracks um, and actually reached the front lines and got scared and ran away. And you can tell how that just doesn't do any good. Or people that lie about the experience. You know, people saying like, "Oh yeah, I got medical training," and it comes to do medical things, and they don't know anything to do. Like they don't know anything at all, and you end up losing a life. So there's a lot of that was actually going around, and it's just not cool. Like if you want to go over there and you feel passionate about going over there to defend it, I completely understand. But if you don't have the experience and the training, you're just going to be doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
So that's just my little piece on that.
Mm.
But that's just like the whole research part of that. I had to do a 24-hour like COVID test, and as soon as that came through, I bought the ticket and I was ready to go. The only issue with that was I was ready to go. My Marine buddy that I was going to stores and buying things and talking about all these tactics and a game plan of like where we're going to go, what we're going to do. He suddenly said work came up and he can't go. He was a contractor, like kind of like a PMC. Um, and I didn't want to be like an asshole to him, but like, no, you're just chicking out, whatever. But I already bought my ticket, so I'm like, I guess I'm going. To be honest, I was really hoping he would come because it really makes things easier to have somebody come with you instead of going alone.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case, so it was just me going. I bought a ticket, in the group chats to avoid Germany because there's this theory that if you went through Germany, they're going to confiscate your body armor if you land in through Germany. So I got a flight that went through Finland and then down to Poland.
Mm.
Um, as soon as I got to Poland, I got I had all my luggage and a backpack threw it on top. Went straight to a train station, and I got into that train station, or excuse me, it was a bus station. When I got to that bus station, it was my first kind of taste of like reality of like this is actually something real that's happening. When I got to that bus station, there was so many refugees there. They were all like sleeping on mats, both on the first floor and the second floor. There was like Polish volunteers out there with like food and like hot beverages, giving them, um, you know, passing them out to refugees and stuff like that. And it was just full of them, like absolutely full of them. Like old men, women, like children were like running around playing. Um, it was just completely crowded, and it was kind of like oh wow, like this is happening. And I took my phone out and I started like taking pictures, and I felt like like a really shitty person. Like these people are refugees; they just got kicked out of their homes. Here I am, like taking pictures of them. I don't know. I felt really shitty. So I just kind of put the phone away. I'm just like, no, I need to focus. I don't need to be doing this. I'm not here to record other people's misery and stuff like that. I'm here to actually like volunteer and fight. Let's do this. So one bus train, uh, one bus ride later, I did get to a train station, and there I met even more refugees. Some old woman, I call them babushkas. Uh, they were coming up to me, and they're just so friendly and smiling, and like trying to talk to me, and they're like, grabbing the arms around me and like kind of giving me a little hug and saying something to me. I don't know what they're saying. I only assume it's Ukrainian or Russian. But they're like happy to me, happy that I was like, at the bus station. I was wearing like my camouflage that I had, so it's kind of obvious where I'm going. Um, they just kept them like trying to talk to me and talk to me and talk to me, and all I had to like learn was some quick words off of Google of how to say, "Sorry, I don't speak Ukrainian," or "Sorry, I don't speak Russian," "Sorry, I don't speak Polish," or like yes, no, just some of the basics. Um, I tried to say that to her, either I said it wrong or she just didn't care, just kept on trying to talk to me. And
Mm.
then this, this tall guy came over to me, looked pretty young, and he started speaking Russian, and she went away. And he's like, you look pretty obvious that you're here to volunteer to fight. I'm like, yeah. Where are you from? You sound British. He's like, yeah, I am British. I'm like, oh, cool. So we got to talking. He showed me his backpack and he showed me his gear inside the backpack. I'm like, okay, awesome. I got myself a buddy. And then he revealed to me that he's 19 years old. Gear in his backpack is his issued gear from the British Army, and he's still active duty.
Uh-oh.
I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, man, I'm just like, are you really, you're serious about going? He's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go. I'm like, how'd you get permission to go? Like, there's no way they would allow you. Did you take leave? And he's like, yeah, I took leave. I'm like, how long? Like, I took leave for a month. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. They find out that's like technically desertion. Like, you can go to jail when you go home. And he's like, "Well, like, I'm not leaving Ukraine. I'm going there. I'm gonna fight. Like, this is what I want." I'm like, "Okay. I'm not gonna tell you no. I'm gonna say I want you to think this through and be smart about it. Because you got your whole life ahead. You're young. I'm in my late 20s. You still got a long life to go. So let's not throw it away. Because Ukraine is always gonna be there. I was pretty optimistic at the time. Like, Ukraine's gonna win. You go there when the war ends. You gotta go home back home eventually." He's like, "No, no, I'll just stay in Ukraine forever." I'm like, "Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna try to convince you otherwise. Let's go." So he switched his ticket to be the same one as mine. We rode together and we were talking the entire time. Um, I had some MREs that I brought with me, and I was showing him what the Americans got to eat. For those that don't know, MREs stands for Meals Ready to Eat. It's basically the military rations. Um, he was telling me, like, he was shocked when he was looking at the context side. He's like, "Where"
Wait, can you say that
I'm
sentence
just like, "What do you
again?
mean?" He's like,
You
"British
glitched out
people
a little
have, like,
bit.
a"
He was
Oh, yeah,
shocked.
sorry. Yeah, I was showing him the context of my MRE, what we had in our military rations, and he was shocked. He was asking, "Where is all the tea?" Like, I guess, like, the British, have a lot of tea in their, in their rations. So he was pretty shocked about that, and I pulled out a little packet of, like, little coffee grounds and some sugar, and some creamer, and he's like, "Well, I got this," and he's like, "Oh, man, that's not it. You need tea." Like, um, yeah, so we were just, kinda talking about that, and he was really young. One thing that I was a little bit jealous about was he had some insane callus on his fingers, and he was not cold at all. My hands were purple. Like, it was cold at the time. Um, but something I didn't really understand, or something I tried to kind of like, if this guy's going to be with me, tagging along and being my new, essentially battle buddy, I didn't want him to kind of have any kind of like misconceptions of what we're going into. Because again, I was very certain, or at least I thought I knew. I thought I was certain what I was getting into. I knew, like, combat is not, no Call of Duty game or anything like that. 'Cause he started talking about, like, "Oh, yeah, like, this is perfect. Like, you got a lot more experience than I do, but I can speak Russian. I can walk up to a Russian, speak to him and distract him, and you come up behind him with a knife." And I'm like, "No, dude, that's
Not Metal
not how
Gear
this works."
Solid, dude.
Right? Yeah, I'm just like, like, too much Call of Duty, man. Like, this is
Yeah.
not how this works.
I'm
And
guessing even
again,
in the
I'm saying
military,
this is
it's
not how
easy to
this works.
tell when someone's played too much Call of Duty.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he's 19. He's been in the armed service for like less than a year. So, I mean, this guy, graduated his boot camp like not too long ago, and he's definitely has the experience, enough experience that he's part of the mechanized unit. He showed me some pictures, so I was like confirm that he's not guessing me. Like, he's for real in the British Army, and he's for real going UA. I don't believe he gave me his real name. Um, But even if he did, I probably shouldn't say it on here just
Yeah.
for his sake. Um, 'Cause, yeah, we got to the border, and on the, Allied Defense, group chat that um, we had a hotel room where we left over supplies that we didn't wanna take over. So I went to go check in that hotel. or go to that hotel to punch in the code, and I left some of my baggage there because I want to travel light. When I left, Sasha was what he told me his name was. I'm pretty sure that's not his name because that's like a nickname for like every Russian. That the mom calls like the little boy Sasha.
Hmm.
Um, he was just gone. I didn't know. I don't know where he went. Um, Part of me was a little bit relieved because I kind of did give him a little of a pep talk. Being in my late 20s and him being 19 years old, I was telling him like, you gotta be smart about this. Don't throw your life away. Um, when we go here, we need to go about it like this, and this. Just follow my lead. Um, that's how we were kind of going about how I was kind of talking to him about it all. Um, I think maybe just perhaps he just chickened out. I don't know. Um, you know, he said something about like, oh, I want to go straight across the border like as soon as possible. If that was true though, like why didn't he like stick around with me? Why didn't he wait for me? So I don't know. I like to think that he, maybe thought twice about it and decided to go back home. Then there was another issue. I was alone again. I was a little bit upset about that. I was just like, man, like it just really is easier to go with somebody else and kind of keep each other on check. It's like I'm not chicken. Are you chicken? Like, no, I'm not chicken. All right, let's go. And it's just kind of like you're not saying it out loud, but it's that indirect kind of like pure pressure that you're
Yeah.
giving each other that are just going together. Um, there's also it was that similar time when my parents started blowing up my phone. My friend that I went to boot camp with hit me up with some news. I wasn't paying attention at the time while I was traveling. The volunteer barracks in Ukraine just got blown up. It was on March 13th, and there's a lot of words saying like Russia had like landed a bunch of paratroopers nearby and was like about to overrun the place or whatever. Like I don't know what I couldn't piece apart what was like rumors and what was actual fact. The one thing I knew for sure that was a fact was the volunteer barracks got hit by a cruise missile. Um, so I was like, okay, I wasn't gonna go there anyways, so I'm still gonna go. All right, I'm gonna do this. I crossed the border. I hitched a ride with some actual real volunteer medics, not me. I was using that as like a bluff. I was just saying that just to get permission to go, but I actually hitched a ride with some real volunteer medics to get across the Polish border. And there's still a lot of people trying to, cross that border, trying to like get through. And there's a lot of abandoned cars on the side of the roads. I went there, and the first thing I wanted to do was, it was pretty late at night, so the first thing I wanted to do was get a hotel or a hostel. And I found one, and they actually let me stay there for free. There was actually some other volunteer um, fighters there with some gear and equipment actually already there, and they were packing up, leaving. And they were telling me pretty much, like, hey man, just like we were at the barracks that just got bombed. Don't do it. Just go. Even this guy that was was like Delta Force said, "Fuck this. I'm leaving." Um, that was kind of like a shock, and I had to kind of sit down on the bed, and I was like thinking to myself, like, these guys, they're like me, and they're saying, "The hell of this. I need to get the hell out of here." Um, so I kind of like I sat down. I was like, "Do I really want to like go?" Like, you know what? Like, yeah, I think I am gonna go. And um, there's this Estonian guy. He managed the gear. Um, he actually wanted to go, and he talked to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm still gonna go." I was like, "Okay, like you go, man. I'll go with you." And he's like, "Yeah, dude. Like I'm Estonian. Like this is my fight too." He was very passionate about it. A lot of some other people that were still there too. Um, I didn't leave. Something that I found out was really in common with all of us over the night while we're staying there was everyone's like a big fan of history
Hmm.
and kind of saw what was going on. And we all had like the theory that if Russia is not stopped in Ukraine here at this very moment and they keep going, they're not going to stop.
Yeah.
In this case for the Estonian, he believed Estonia could be next.
So that's what his
Um,
motivation was,
you
is that
know,
he wanted to protect not only Ukraine and the innocents there, but his country as well.
exactly, yeah, and I told him like, "Hey, like I'll go, man. Like, let's do it." And he's like, "All right, going to the volunteer like barracks tomorrow." I'm like, "About that, I'm just gonna go straight there." And all Estonians are like conscripted. He already has like military training. I think he's had like 2 years of military training and plus like reserve time, and so he's already like pretty decently trained and up and everything like that. He's around like the same age as I am. He's just 2 years younger. Um, excuse me, he was three. Yeah, he's 3 years younger than me, not 2 years. Um, so he actually agrees, like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go with you. Like we kind of clicked. Like we were actually got along really well. Like we were into like a lot of the same things. We're both fans of like history and um, he was actually very um like okay with just going straight there, but we just had to find a ride. I wanted to pick up some more medical equipment, so we stopped by a hospital like the next morning. Um, and actually just talked around. We didn't get any medical supplies, but we actually found a ride. I think I'm drawing a little bit of a blank, but I think it's called Bolt. It's like Uber, but like Uber wasn't running anymore there, but like Bolt was. Hopefully, I'm not getting the name wrong. I'm pretty sure it's called Bolt, but like we actually took like a Bolt ride. So we got in a car and actually drove all the way up to a certain point to like another hospital where we met this woman named Stella. Very sweet girl. She was with her grandparents on the way to the border. Um, we tried that hospital for like more supplies. They again didn't wouldn't like give anything more to us because they were pretty full. And I actually saw some wounded people going there, but Stella was actually like, "Yeah, I'll drive you there." She was going to drive her grandparents to the border, but she actually took me and the Estonian. I called him Billy. That's not his real name, but that's just the nickname that I called him. But yeah, so me and Billy actually got in the car, and Estella actually took us with her grandparents still in the car towards the front lines. She was like super sweet. Um, it wasn't very quick. It actually took us like many hours to get there because of all the checkpoints. Luckily, flashing your American passport was all it took to get through, and they were actually very happy to like have us come through. They're just like, "Hell yeah!" Like, "Yo, you're American?" Like, "Oh yeah, come on in, man!" Like, "Hell yeah!" Like, America's coming to fight. Like, these are American soldiers. And like, I'm a Marine, but yeah, I'm here. All right, let's do this. Started going my way. Um, we actually got to a school where I managed to find myself a rifle. There was no rifles for everybody, so all I had, like, Billy didn't have a rifle at all. I got my hands on a G3 rifle with 4 rounds, no magazine.
Oh boy.
So that's all I had was, you're not supposed to use this rifle as a bolt action, but that's what I was gonna have to use it for. So it's like, if this is all I got, I guess this is all I got. But it stayed long enough. I did get my hands on the AK when we started moving. Um, I guess I should kind of point out, like, because I did mention we were in a school. It was like a middle school. I think that would kind of bring a lot of controversy with a lot of people, like, seeing like, this is a school. Why are military people going in there? It's going to get bombed, you know. And then we're of course going to use that as propaganda against like Russia, saying like they just bombed the school. Like, yes, that is true. The soldiers need to go somewhere. And a school is very big; it can hold a lot of people. Um, and to my understanding, it's not without like permission from like the government or something like that. Um, and everyone took pretty good care of everything. So
Mhm.
like it wasn't like a huge deal, to my understanding, in a ways. I couldn't really, being an American, there's this joke about like, what do you call someone that speaks three languages? Trilingual. Someone that speaks two languages, bilingual. What do you call someone that only speaks one language? American. I'm not American, unfortunately. But I couldn't understand what a lot of people were talking about. But something that I was able to pick up on was there was no real command structure. and the school meant more so looked like a dumping ground of, you know, guys that just got new uniforms, because they were very new. They weren't ripped, torn. They looked new. They were getting weapons. So it's kind of like a staging area for all these new people to come in. And they're just going to load them on vehicles and then send them to the front lines once they actually got the needed equipment. So it didn't seem like there was any kind of command structure. You can tell that some people were actually like military and knew what they were doing. They were kind of like in charge, if not them. It just seemed like it went by age. But me and Billy, me and the Estonian still stayed together. Um, Once we actually got our gear and equipment and like our rifles, we got in a car, just a regular old car, and we kind of formed a convoy, and we're heading out. And
This is when it gets rough.
um, yeah, um, and I thought it was easier to talk about like when I talked to you the first time. There was in the car, it's not like you can hear drones or anything like above because you're in the car. And um, I wasn't the last vehicle in the convoy. I was like maybe like 2/3 in the way at the back, and the lead vehicle actually got struck by what I believe was a drone. Um, it's not like I didn't hear any kind of like whistles or I'm pretty sure it wasn't a mine. But yeah, I was pretty sure it was a drone, and it struck and it shook everything. Like, and the car started peeling off the road. There was not a lot of cover except for some houses off to the side, and I took cover in one of the ditches, and the Estonian guy's like, "Hey, we gotta move the cover," and my right leg was just shaking hard. Um, that was actually kind of pissing me off. I started like smacking it. I was hitting my right leg, to kind of get it to stop, and I was just like, I gotta move, like I gotta do something. No medical. A vehicle just got hit. It's gotta be wounded. So I just got up and I ran to where straight on the X where the explosion happened, and there was just debris everywhere. The car was non-existent, and I remember seeing this just blood smear across the road, and there's this guy's mangled body, and just like torn clothing, and it was just really surreal to look at. It kind of felt like I was just like dreaming. I was I looked at that and I kind of like looked at it quickly, as if like I was trying not to like traumatize myself. Like, oh, if I look longer, I'm gonna traumatize myself more. Let me look away. Um, let me look at where maybe there's some wounded over here. There's absolutely nothing. It got completely obliterated. Um, and then these Ukrainian guys started like shouting at me that like come here, and they were in the building. I ran in with them, and we just sat there for a good while. Honestly, like I don't know how long. Um, Kind of felt like an hour maybe, but, we were sitting there and I kinda got in my head, like, if that was a drone, they got more ammunition, don't they? Like, is it just one shot and done, or do they have more? Like, I'm pretty sure they saw us go in this building. We're all crowded, clumped up and everything like that. Like, started telling myself, like, I fucked up. Like, one, I ran up on the X, ran onto the X, then ran into the building with a bunch of Ukrainians. So now, like, the UAV or the drone that's up there is pretty much saw me go into a building with a bunch of people, and we're just a prime target ready to get hit. So I was kind of thinking like maybe I just fucked up. Maybe I just kind of compromised everyone's position here, and we're all going to get killed. I know better. I know we need to stay dispersed. But later on, um, came for us to get out. We got back on our vehicles, and we just continued forward. But it was definitely a very kind of rude awakening of like, oh shit, this is real. That was a drone strike on my position, and like that was a dead body, and like like seeing it just I don't know, it's just weird, and it really bugs me. Like I still see it in like my dreams too, um, like picture perfect. Like I still remember seeing it like very visually, like just like the bone sticking out, and the ribs protrude.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. I didn't. It was just a weird feeling.
Mhm.
Um, I was like there already, and I told you about the whole like peer pressure. Like, hey, you got to be here. Nobody told me that, but like everyone's just going forward, so I just went forward with them. That was honestly like that was pretty terrifying. Like, um, at least my legs started shaking though. um, at that point, but we got to shortly after that we got to the front line, which was surprisingly pretty quiet. A lot of trenches. I got to talk to some of the boys there with my nice translator, which was my Estonian friend. He actually spoke like, of course, Estonian. He spoke Russian and he spoke English. Um, so a lot of the Ukrainians were, of course, like speaking Ukrainian, but pretty much every Ukrainian also knows Russian. I would say a very large percent of Ukrainians spoke Russian. So we were I was able to use the Estonian to kind of translate through there. So I had to stay with him. It actually took me a while to find him again because we got split up during that drone attack and got into different vehicles. Um, but when we met up, you know, it took a little bit longer until we kind of settled in. And after a little while, we got told that there's actually some more volunteers just like us, held up in a house further up ahead. And I call this the gray zone. Not necessarily like no man's zone, because it's not like that in it's not like that in
Oh, give him a second.
uh,
Sorry, the everything's glitching out. Give him 1 second. Okay. And
okay.
okay, we're good. Go ahead and say that last like 15 seconds again.
Not sure where exactly that would be, but I would say um, it took me a while to find the Estonian. We settled down a little bit, and then we found out there was some volunteer fighters just like us. Majority of them were actually Americans, so I thought that was kind of cool. We could meet some Americans, and we're gonna go over there. And there's actually a British guy that I met. Later on, he would actually leave, but he was gonna stay, and I never got his full story. It was me, Billy, the Estonian, and another Ukrainian. I called him my chaperone because he's going to lead the way. But at that point, it was really dark at night, and that's when we're going to move to get to this house to kind of reinforce it, as well as we got word that there was a wounded there, and this is like all a word that we got from like the commander of the Ukrainians in this section. So we thought like, okay, cool. We're gonna go over there. We're gonna go there for medical aid. I got a lot of medical gear in my pack, my little like IFAC. Um, I had like in bulk. I had like my IFAC and I had like a whole backpack full of it. Like I was like ready. Like whatever the case was there, that was gonna whatever kind of wound this guy had or whatever kind of casualty it was. I was gonna have probably like 80% of the needed tools for it. So I definitely wanted to go. I pressed to go. They said we can go. So we went over there. Stony carried the stretcher. I had the medical gear, and the Ukrainian guy or chaperone was going to lead us over there. Started going over there. Really dark at night. We started rustling through some bushes, some trees, some open fields, and more trees. Um, until finally we got into this house, and the Ukrainian guy admitted like it's too dark. I know this area, but it's too dark for me to tell where we are right now. So we didn't actually know where we were exactly. So we kind of just went to the building to kind of hunker down. Um, and in the middle of the night, um, we heard some like ruckus going outside, kind of like some banging, and it sounded like someone was like trying to like open a door, not to our building, but like from the like a building like really close to us, like very very close, like maybe like 10 or like 15 meters away. Opened the door and kind of crept out. It was me, the Ukrainian guy. The Estonian guy, he was still asleep. Um, so I just like left him there, and me and him were just gonna check it out. And we saw two Russian dudes there. It took me a while to really get fixated. Like, are these actually Russians? Is this the volunteer fighters that we're looking for? Like, looks like Russian uniforms." And my chaperone looked at me and was like, "Those are orcs." That's what we call, the Russians. There, it's like orcs, the invaders. Um, so I caught my rifle up, and it was already like condition one, ready to shoot. And I pointed at them, and this guy was just, he wasn't wearing any body armor, didn't have his helmet on. His vest was like opened up. He had like a scarf on, a beanie. They're just trying to like open this door to this building. So maybe they're like trying to loot it. Maybe they're just trying to like get inside or whatever. But they look very relaxed. They weren't, the rifles were slung over their shoulders. They were very relaxed. They weren't, trying to clear out any buildings or anything like that. So whatever they're doing, like I just pointed my rifle at one of them, and
It's okay. Take your time.
um, I did hesitate. At least I think I did. Um, the Ukrainian guy did say shoot, and I just pulled the trigger. I only shot one round, and I still remember very visually the ripples in his clothing where it hit, like right in his side, and he just he didn't fall face forward. He didn't like fall back. He just collapsed. Like his knees just completely collapsed, and his face, his ass was like in the air, and his face just like went straight in the puddle. And the other Russian just immediately ran away, and Ukraine started shooting at him. And um, it was like a second like quiet of like silence, and I heard Russian like gargling in the water, like he was still alive, and he was having labor breathing. He wasn't able to breathe. But I just remember hearing him gargle the muddy water like beneath his feet, and until he just stopped. Like I don't know, maybe he drowned. Like he was moving only a little bit. Um, but yeah, that was my first Russian. Um, it didn't feel right. I thought they had enough training and kind of conditioning in the mind to be okay with this. Like I thought I was gonna be very okay with just with my first kill. It was gonna be like nothing. Because I've been trained for like we're trained killers. I was very convinced I would never in my life be good at anything than I am at killing people. That's what the Marine infantry made me believe. I was here I am. I just took a life, and it really kind of shook me up. And um, after further analysis, we waited a little bit. The Estonian woke up, and after the bangs, it's hard to sleep through a gunfire. He woke up and wondered what was going on, and we tried to get a grasp of what the situation was around us. We were peeking over like fences and stuff like that. It was getting closer to the daylight, and um, we kind of came to the conclusion that we wanted it to a Russian position. Like, where are the Russians? Why was there none of them like coming out to like greet us? The Russian way, where we're gonna get held captives. Do we just wander into a Russian-controlled town? We didn't know what it was, so we weren't gonna stick around very long, so we left. It took us forever to get back. It was like very dark outside. Hard to see where we're going. We got
Oh,
the
hold on.
attraction. We want that.
Sorry. Hold on. And okay, I think you're good. Go ahead. Oh, hold on, guys. VRChat's being funky. I think his Wi-Fi's being funky. But okay, say something.
Can
Uh,
you hear me now?
yeah. Okay, you're good to go. Continue.
Okay. I'll just fast forward a little bit. Eventually, we got back. Um, when we got back, actually found out the commander that passport us was actually killed, in a separate drone attack, not one similar,
He
or it
was
was
taken out,
artillery,
you
I
said?
think. Yeah, it was artillery. What's that?
You said he was taken out? You cut out a bit.
Yeah, he was the commander that told us about, the building with the volunteer fighters that were gonna go over there for medical aid and kind of reinforce. He was killed, and we found out that was actually old word, that was old news, and they weren't there anymore, and, we came to the conclusion that we did go to the right place, but it was Russian held. Um, so we literally just wandered into a town that was held by Russians, um, that also got defense posture. Like, there was none of it. Um, Later on, I kinda found out, like, there was no fighting at night. Like, everyone just went to bed. Um, there was no shooting, there was no artillery, there was no drone strikes of any sort where we were. It was, like, kinda like a weird, like, neutral, like, gentleman's agreement, like, "Hey, guys, it's bedtime. Let's go to bed."
Hmm.
Um, at this point too, I also knew that, like, Russians didn't really have, like, MVGs. That wasn't very common equipment given to every one of them, and
Oh, hold on.
so they figured, like, "Oh,
Hold on. Last 10 seconds. Sorry, I don't know what's up with it, but we're doing just fine. Don't worry.
okay. Alright, sweet." Yeah, we kind of figured out, like, the Russians don't have MVGs, Ukrainians don't have MVGs, so it's kinda like a weird, like, gentleman's agreement that, um, you know, when it's nighttime, we're all going to bed.
Yeah.
So, what I think happened working?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was just checking it. Go ahead.
Okay. Eh, what I think happened was the Russians had a very relaxed defensive posture there, and these 2 Russians were just up at late night to their homes, thinking they were safe, and just ended up that we just found the right spot to wander in there and just, what was them and, why there wasn't, like, a bunch of Russians running out the doors. Maybe they just thought it was their own men, doing dumb things, looting houses or something. I don't know why. Not complaining. Just glad I got out of there and, yeah, that was pretty much, that was my first experience, with a Russian, and that was my first kill. Um, it still bothers me even still to this day. Um, I kind of ponder on that because it's not the first Russian that I killed, during this time, but I think it was because he was no threat to me. It felt like murder. Um, I didn't have to shoot. We could have just snuck out. So we could have snuck away. Um, I didn't have to shoot. Maybe, like, I don't know. I'm trying to justify it in my head of like why it bothers me so much and why it still kind of haunts me. Um, I think that's a kind of conclusion was, he was no active threat to me, and it felt like murder. And maybe that's exactly what it was. Because I didn't have to, but I did. Um, but anyways, to move away from that, I did get a new commander, and he actually came to talk to me, and he actually hated me. He loved the Estonian guy. Um, like, Estonia and him was like they're all here for the same cause and everything like that. And he hated me when I told him I was here for 3 weeks. He's like 3 weeks. Like, you don't come here for 3 weeks. You come here to die for Ukraine. Like, you don't come here for a vacation. You're not a war tourist here. And I was like, no, no, I'm not a war tourist. I'm here to fight. My job only gave me 3 weeks, but he just didn't have it. He just wasn't having it. He didn't like that answer, and he's actually already experienced some foreigners that actually cowered out and ran away, and they're probably across the border right now, or trying to get across the border. Um, but his opinion of like some Western foreign fighters was very low. Um, but he was glad that the Estonian guy was pretty much here forever. And the commander guy pretty much told me like, all right, here for 3 weeks. but I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make use of you for those 3 weeks. So either you're here for 3 weeks or you're here forever." And he just kinda walked off with that, and I was starting to think to myself, like, "Here forever?" And the Estonian guy is like, he means either you're gonna get killed and you're gonna be buried here forever. I'm like, "Ah, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool." Um, alright, yeah, so I wanted I was like, "Alright, cool." Um, besides him, a lot of the, Ukrainians actually were a lot more, like, friendlier, and, they took turns in the trenches. One thing I liked about the trenches was it was actually very comfortable. I'm used to in the Marine Corps, we just dig like a fighting hole, like a two-man fighting hole, and you just have that, like, that's all you have. Ukrainians, like, they dug a little, like, it was like kinda like a little apartment building in the back, underneath, overhead cover from the rain, the cold, it was really nice. Um, we had a guy that was a chef that was like, he kept on getting food, and he would, like, share us some. It was actually really good. Um, like, it was actually surprisingly comfortable in the trenches. We weren't all just, like, manning the trenches, like, looking out in the distance waiting for the Russians to come. We just took turns, like, one person went out there and then the next person, and then at night, we just chilled in the trench. Um, and, one day we did get um, a grad rocket strike. For those that don't know, it's an artillery system that shoots, many rockets at your position. Luckily, it hit all in front of us, so it did not hit, like, directly on a trench position. Um, we were pretty good, but it was still kinda terrifying. We definitely, hunkered down and got in. The ground did kinda shake a little bit. It wasn't that close to where it was, like, too bad. Um, and then, like, the next day, it was, like, quiet again, until, like, it reached, like, 10 a.m. Then artillery started hitting our position. This was a lot more accurate. It was weird. The first round that hit was actually, like, right on my position. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear a whistle. I didn't hear anything. I just saw a bunch of dirt kicked up, behind me, and it was just falling on top of me. And I looked around, and I saw, more. And these rounds I started hearing, they were impacting down, and that's when I kind of clicked in my head, like, "Oh, I'm being hit by artillery. Let me get down." But it was weird. Like, the round that would, like, hit, like, right behind my position, practically on top of me, I didn't hear at all. I just felt the dirt falling down on top of me. So that was that was kind of weird. Um, but yeah, it really shook the ground. It's really intimidating. Um, but you kind of make it a game. Like, you're just chilling in there, like me and this 20 guy. We're just in there counting how many rounds, and um, like, making bets. And that's when we heard, like, actually one of the bunkers was, like, hit. Um, that one the Ukrainians built, and we ran over there, and there was actually no Ukrainians inside. That we were, like, digging in there. And there was actually no casualties. Like, the trenches did their jobs, our little bunkers did our jobs. We were pretty much we were good to go. Um, so even though, like, artillery was, like, really terrifying, it was, like, the least terrifying, thing that kind of, like, experience, which isn't saying that's not terrifying. I don't know how to really put it. Like, I was really comfortable in the uh, the trenches inside the bunker. The Estonian was not happy about this at all. Actually, he was really pissed off. It was more kind of, like, oddly relaxed a little bit, because I just had, like, a lot of faith in, like, the bunker we're in, until I saw that one that got caved in and got, blown up. That's when I was kind of like, "Oh, maybe I'm not that safe," but there's nothing I can do. Like, I can't stop the artillery, and that's what pissed off the, Ukrainian guy. He was mad that he couldn't do anything to stop them from shelling us or anything like that. Um, but the trick that we learned is, if the artillery's at you, you can actually hear the boom off in the distance from the artillery, and it gives you time to kind of go into cover, and then you hear the explosions hitting your position. So there's, like, they give you kind of like a heads up. And when it was hitting other positions away from us, you don't hear the boom because the cannons aren't, like, facing you. If they're facing you, you hear the booms. Um, if it's not facing you, the booms that you're hearing are the impacts and not the artillery that's, like, shooting you. So you don't have to really worry so much. So you kind of know when to, like, be afraid of what's coming at you and what not to. Um, I thought that it was like a good like 3 or 4 days of just that. Um, and I thought that was just gonna be like my entire time was just sitting in these trenches. And the Ukrainian commander came back and said, like, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. He's like, you're gonna go with these gentlemen right here, and you guys are gonna set up some mines. Turns out the Russians actually penetrated a position, kind of like adjacent, forward, adjacent from our position, more west. It was like a major like city, or not major city. It was a big town. The Russians had taken that, so I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay, what are we doing? It's like, you guys are gonna go to this road. The Ukrainians gonna lead you there. All right, here's your chaperones. Um, he gave us some like anti-tank mines, and I was just looking at it, I was like, I don't know how to work these. And they gave me a little quick like pickpocket class of how to like to work this. And I was like, okay, cool, very simple enough. Um, you know, Willem, the Estonian, he has some of the rocket systems that looked very similar to what we had in the U.S. military, the law, the M72 law, but it's like the Russian version. We got that actually when we went to go search for those volunteers, but we took that again with us. I didn't see it, I did see a lot of news about like the in-laws and javelins and everything like that. Where I was at, there was none of that. Just like some light anti-tank rockets, basically. But the Estonian knew how to use that, so he had that. I had the landmines. We went out, and we just kind of patrolled out in the woods. Being very quiet. Dispersion could have been better. It was actually kind of driving me nuts. Was our dispersion wasn't far apart as we were like going out, and I kept on asking the Estonians like, "Hey, you need to tell them that we need to get more spread apart." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, okay." And he tells one of the Ukrainians, he just like says something, then turns forward and keeps walking, and then like nothing happens. I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna back up a little bit. Like the reason for dispersion when you're kind of patrolling in a formation is, when it's HE or like machine gun fire or anything like that. Especially if you get caught in the like on with enfilade fire, like if the machine guns got you all lined up. Uh, you want to be spread apart. If there's a grenade launcher, explosion, you want to be spread more apart. So not all going to become casualties at once. So you're trying to minimize the amount of casualties you're going to be by just creating space between you. So I just kind of backed away and just tugged away at the Estonian guy. I was like, "Hey, just follow me. Let's get some space." Um, we did that, went over, found the road. That's part I did like. Dispersion drove me nuts, but when we got there, they actually did proper security. One was facing north down the road, the other one was like facing southeast down the road where it kind of like turned. And we just got over there on the dirt road, and we can actually see like big tires and like track marks from where like tanks and like BTRs or APCs like had traveled through previously. It was easy to kind of like know like, okay, um, we were told like this is like Russian activity, so they probably think this road's safe. We're gonna put some anti-tank mines here. Started burying them. Nobody told me that when I armed it, it was gonna start making a ticking sound. I nearly shit my pants when I was burying the anti-tank mine and primed it ready. It started ticking, and I started
Oh.
freaking out, going like, "Oh my god, like, is it gonna blow up?" And he's like, "No, no, 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 you're good, you're good. Start burying it, start burying it." I'm like, "Okay." So I started like throwing dirt on it. And I was like, "You guys should have told me." Like I almost shit myself. I thought I fucked up. Um, but yeah, we buried those anti-tank mines and came back, and that was pretty much it. It was kinda anticlimactic. I was kinda hoping maybe like, "Oh, maybe we'll, like, sit here and wait for them to hit it and we'll ambush them." That wasn't the case. We just packed up and went back to the trenches. Um, and that was that. I don't know if those any Russian armor did run over those anti-tank mines at all. I got no clue. But we just went back and they just kinda put me away, and I'm just like, "Alright, I'm here now." Like, I kinda thought this commander guy, like, hated me so much, he's gonna send me on a bunch of missions or something crazy like in the movies or whatever. until I got killed or something like that. But that wasn't the case. Like it was, you know, um, he still knew I was only gonna be here for like 3 weeks, and he just said he's gonna make use of me. That didn't necessarily mean like a mission was gonna be like ready every time. Um, and word actually got through that the Russians completely took the town and were pushing more, and we actually had to pack up and leave to some reserve trench positions. Um, so it was kind of like a real bummer. I was kind of actually a little pissed off a little bit because one is a long walk. It was cold, and two, like we were retreating, and at this point, like I wanted to prove that I was here to fight, not just simply here for 3 weeks. Um, even though I already kind of already had my first taste of killing somebody, I kind of wanted to almost redeem myself. Like I wanted to kind of erase that guilt and be like, it's not gonna be my only experience here in Ukraine. Like I'm gonna actually fight some Russians. I'm gonna do some good. I even tried to go to some Ukrainians and like try to teach them some medical stuff, and they're just like, "Oh, we already know this." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
Like, all right, what about this? I'm like, "No, we know that." I'm like, all right, what about like a needle D? And like, oh, we don't know that. A needle D is like a that's a needle that you got to put into basically into through the ribs, the space between the ribs. If there's like if you have a tension pneumothorax of any sort, usually which would be like a closed one. That's medical terms. I won't go too deep into it. But most cases, I would not need a needle D. But they saw that and they're just like, "Oh, what is it?" And I try explaining it to them. They're just like, I don't want any of that." I'm like, okay. Um, Further on, we got to the new transpositions. We got hit by artillery there. Actually, like I think like 5 hours after we settled it in. So the Russians were pretty quick on that. And this one was actually intense. This one actually kind of scared me because it was actually very like concentrated, intense artillery. And this one, I was actually really terrified. The ones before was more scattered, wasn't really like direct or intense. This one was really, really intense. This one really shook my world. And again, my right leg was like shaking. And I tried to again do the same thing where I'm hitting it, trying to get it to stop shaking. I just kept on shaking. But the funny thing is, I looked over at the Estonian guy, and his left leg was shaking. I'm just like, "Can we trade?" um, so it wasn't just me, you know. Um, but yeah, like I'll be hands down honest. I pissed myself during that artillery barrage. Like I actually straight up pissed myself. Um, I've read in like in a book that that's actually like normal. It's just like your body's going to like survival mode, and it doesn't holding in your bladder is not part of survival mode or something like that. So I just changed trousers when I could. Um, it wasn't like a big deal. Nobody like shamed me or anything for that. In fact, like the Estonian guy actually pissed himself too. So I was like, okay, yeah, we're good. Like
yeah,
we're all pissed ourselves. It's cool. Um, it's definitely not like in training. In the Marine Corps, we got these things called arty sims, like arty simulators, where you just like you pull a cord and you toss it, and it makes a loud whistle sound and it makes a boom. And then like that'll be it, and that'll be like our simulation of like artillery hitting our positions. But it's a simulation. It's supposed to just give you the idea of like I'm supposed to react to this, but it's just not exactly really like that. Um, the feeling is just way more intense, obviously.
yeah.
But that one actually did terrify me. That was actually really intense, and I thought my whole transposition was going to get caved in, or I was going to get just obliterated. But the nice thing about these reserve positions is like they actually had reinforced it with like logs, and the one that we had actually had concrete on it. So I thought that was super cool. Like, oh, okay, this is actually a really good position. Um, and then further on, um, I got word from some of the Ukrainian guys that came over, and he gathers us up and said, "We're going on another mission." I'm like, "Okay, awesome. What we're gonna do?" Um, we actually got this is the first time I actually saw the NLAW. I was really happy. I was like, "Oh, this is a mission. Okay, cool. Like we're out like tank hunting. All right, let's do this." And we actually had there was some bigger like anti-tank rockets that these guys like had and everything like that. like I was really happy, that I was actually gonna like finally like get out there. Um, I kind of try to prove myself and just kind of like hopefully erase this guilt. Like I had a theory in my head, like because of um, that first Russian that I that first Russian that I thought shot. I've kind of felt like if I can just shoot at more or kill more, maybe I can actually create like a numbness and it won't bother me anymore. Because honestly, it really did. Um, and I just had the theory in my head, and we were ready to go. But instead of going, we just sat in the trench because we didn't get the go ahead. Got canceled, but we stayed kind of together, and we actually got artillery again. Um, and So that was like two times in like one day. Usually it's like one time a day. This is like twice in one day. And they started speculating like the Russians were gonna try to aim for this area first because if they're gonna try to penetrate a certain area, they're gonna concentrate the artillery power there. But the fact they were hitting the spot again, I just feel like okay, this might be the next part that they're gonna strike. So let's keep our anti-tank weapons here. Let's not push out when there's gonna be like a counterattack here. There was, or excuse me, not a counterattack. There was gonna be an offensive like on our position. That did not happen. Um, and like we just ended up just listening to music. I was trying to share some of my music with the with the Ukrainians, and you know, they actually didn't like my they didn't like my music. I was like, "What?" I was like, "No, listen to this," and they're like, "No, no, no." I was like, "What? It's Billy Joel, like Uptown Girl." It's like they're just like they didn't like it. And I was just like, "Oh man!" But the song from Tarzan started playing, "Son of Man," and they're just like, "This is awesome." I'm like, "Really? That's what you like? You like that one? Okay, alright, cool." Um, at that point, like, I just got my headphones, like, put it in there. I was just, like, sitting there and, artillery started hitting again, and, this part was, really weird, like, I was kinda terrified, but I kinda zoned out because the song that was, like, playing was, "We Didn't Start the Fire,"
Mm.
and it was just, like, continuously, like, playing out, I was just, like, listening to the song, and it's, like, artillery, like, hitting our position. I'm just like, "Man, like, I really want someone to, like, recreate this song, but, like, modern day, because this is, like, Vietnam was happening and stuff like that. Like, I want someone to make a new version of, like, "We Didn't Start the Fire," but for, like, what's happening now, like, what happened in Syria, like, at the Afghan pullout, the war in Ukraine, and I was like, "Man, I really want someone to do that," and I started, like, in a piece of paper trying to, like, write some lyrics, and I don't have the skill, so I just stopped.
Oh.
Um, but, like, am I lagging again?
Oh, no, you're good. No, I was just responding
Okay,
to what you said.
awesome.
No, your wife has been good
Okay.
basically for the last like half hour.
Awesome. Okay. I have no idea how long I've been talking, so my bad. But um,
We're at an hour
yeah.
and 13 minutes and you've been doing great, dude. Like you've kept going this whole time. I'm really happy with how this is turning out and I'm really glad that you've been able to talk about this so far. But please
All
continue.
right. Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. No, but that was oddly kind of like a weird moment. This artillery wasn't as intense, but it was still on a position. It was still shaking the whole ground around me. But that was actually weirdly like one of my favorite moments of being in Ukraine was listening to that song as you artillery was like crashing around me.
Yeah.
um, but I don't know. It was a really surreal moment. Like I I say surreal, like that particular was like surreal. At this point, I've had like a big wake up call and I've kind of realized like, okay, this is reality now. Like I wasn't so much of an optimist at this point. At this point, I just kind of felt like a pinata of like, I just stay here and just get artilleried. That's my life now. Like that's all that's gonna happen. And like I never heard any what we like to call like the ping pong effect or like the Russians were hit our position, and then like we got counter battery that try to hit the Russians' positions. Never heard any of that. So either their artillery was drowning out ours, and I just didn't hear it because I was in a little bunker, um, some trench, or they just straight up lied to us, and we don't actually have that much artillery.
Oof.
So I was really hoping for that, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it, but I do have training on how to do call for fire, where I know how to get on the radio and actually give like they needed information to get artillery to hit another position. That wasn't going to be the case with me because I only speak English, and I'm sure the artillerymen um, I don't speak English or don't want to receive coordinates in English. So I knew that wasn't going to happen, but it just made me really kind of like butthurt. Like I just really wanted to take out those like Russian artillery pieces. At first I was like kind of like, oh, it's whatever. Like it's not so bad. But when it's really intense, now I was pissed off. Yeah, I had my little fun surreal moment with my music playing and kind of drowning out the rumbling and everything like that. I was just kind of like I was able to kind of just get my mind out of my head and just kind of escape from reality for however long the song was. When it ended, it kind of like snapped back. And I was like, oh shit, man, let me replay the song. It wasn't the same the second time as it was the first, but um, finally the artillery stopped, and the next day at 10 a.m. again, it's like they have a time for artillery to happen like every day, like it's at the very same time. It always happened like 10 a.m. It's when the Russians were like shooting artillery at our position. But those 2 days was the most extreme. Then it just died down. It wasn't that bad. Um, we got word that I believe it was like the 14th mechanized division. So I don't remember the units. I'm pretty sure it was like the 14th something, like the 14th like mechanized like armor brigade or something. We heard that they actually like took that town back, or they were contesting it or whatever. And then we finally got word from the commander that squad that we got together with the NLAW and everything like that. We still kept all of our loadouts and everything. Got up, left the things that we weren't going to take, and we actually got pushed out. And we're going to do like a recon mission. And I thought, oh, this is cool. Um,
Oh,
uh,
oh, hold on.
yeah,
You stopped at "This is cool" or "This is fine." I don't remember what it was.
oh, okay. And I thought like, oh, this is cool. Like, we're actually going to do a recon mission now. We're actually going to push out and see one of these. This like compound was like cleared out of enemies, or if it's a good like staging area or something like that, because um, from what we're told is there's no Russian presence in this little like compound that was like a couple of kilometers away. But we don't know that from aerial view, so we're gonna go out and check it out. And from my understanding, is a lot of volunteers usually like foreign volunteers usually get grouped up together. Like you group up the Americans together to go over here, or you get the British over here, or like at least the English speakers together. And to my understanding, is they've been usually the ones that are used as like recon. Because I guess might sound bad when I say it like this, but I guess the reason why they kind of do that more often is because they don't want to use up their own Ukrainian soldiers. They want to keep them alive because they're Ukrainian.
Yeah.
So they're just going to kind of throw the foreign fighters out there as kind of like not necessarily cannon fodder, but if we die, it's not a
Yeah,
Ukrainian
no,
killed.
it makes sense.
Um,
Like when it comes down to two equal people being put life or death, choosing your countrymen isn't exactly unreasonable, to
yeah,
keep
and
safety.
honestly, yeah, America did the same thing. Honestly,
Yeah.
like like in Afghanistan, like I know many times we sent the Afghan troops to do certain things that the Americans didn't want to do,
Yeah.
even though we're in their country. But it's like we did the same thing. Um, you don't want to risk your own people if you can just risk like a foreigner. Besides, that's what we came there for. I try to play it off as like, oh no, we're here because we have experience and it's valuable, and we go out there, we have the necessary skills and experience to accomplish the mission. Um, but I think honestly, it was just because you know, if we die, they're not going to cry over us or something like that.
Yeah. Someone said
Even
in
though some
chat
Ukrainians,
a useful point about that. If you're captured, you're not able to speak the language and spill secrets. So, like, you're also not as much of a liability.
ooh, that makes perfect sense. Actually, I didn't think about that
Yeah.
because that fits the bill with me because I didn't know where we were at the time either. um, I call them chaperones because that's what it really feels like. I'm just like, "Lead the way, I'll follow you." Um, um, yeah, no, we went out and, we saw this little, like, compound structure. I thought it was like a school at first. Um, it was actually like an apartment complex. It had a little fence area, there was a playground nearby. Um, we walked for a good, like, 3 hours. And when we got up there and we scoped out the area and we didn't see any Russians there, I thought, like, "Okay, like, there's no Russians there." So that's good. No huge activity that we can see. No artillery rounds around the area. No playground blown up. I know that's Russia's favorite thing lately. I thought I was like, okay, we're good to go. Um, so we got up and we went into the building. And the interesting thing was like the whole side that we were looking at was actually fine, but on the other side of the building, it was actually riddled with bullet holes, and like the wall was like falling apart. So it's kind of weird. Like on our side, it's perfectly fine, and we get inside and we find out on the other side, it's just completely like it's like falling apart. The structure didn't even feel like safe. Like there was actually a caved in. There's actually like a caved in part of the floor, and you can see in the ceiling where like artillery round it like hit. And I made the decision to not be there because I feel like it was maybe like a dud and it didn't blow up. And I wasn't going to be the one that's going to stand over a dud round that's going to blow up if we do get attacked or something like that. So I buggered out over there. Um, and I remember there was like this little kitchen area I was like rummaging through. I was looking for like a cloth. I got like a little cloth that I was gonna like pack in there because it was kind of cold. So I was just looking for like more things to kind of like decorate my little bunker and my little trench. I was grabbing a cup, and this Ukrainian guy is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just like grabbing some stuff from my bunker, making more homey." He's like, "Leave that there. That's not yours. Like they're coming back. Like this is not your stuff. We're not looting. This is Ukraine. This is a Ukrainian home. If you want to loot, go join the Russians." I'm like, "Fuck. I'm sorry." Like, it just shows how like I guess kind of a little bit arrogant I was as far as like not really realizing like this is somebody's home. I just saw I was like kind of like a battlefield, but the Ukrainian guys is like, no, like this is somebody's home.
Yeah.
Even though like this place has been bombed out a little bit, it wasn't completely bombed out, and I was essentially looting a
Yeah.
Ukrainian home,
I
and he
mean,
didn't like that, and
you
I didn't.
but like the mindset that you had wasn't trophies. You didn't want to like, it wasn't like you're
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
fucking
no,
Skyrim. You were trying to keep yourself alive, but it's
yeah, exactly.
it's good of you that you were respectful of that regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't think about it at first, and when he told me that, it kind of like reminded me, just like, yeah, that's right. Like these people are fighting for their home. Um, and I don't need this. Like, I was gonna steal a little teacup, like
Yeah.
for like hot water and stuff like that. Like, I don't need that. So I was like, yeah, like I'm sorry, you're right. I didn't think of it like that, so I kind of put it away. Um, and then it was very. We stayed there for a good while. Two, yeah, two of the Ukrainians said they're gonna be right back, and they left. They went back out the way that we came, and they said to stay here, so we stayed there. We had a good like eight-man like squad kind of left over here. We still had our anti-tank weapons and everything. We were looking outside, and we just took turns. Like two people were looking outside. One kind of like up to like the like northwest. The other one's like the northeast. Kind of getting like just intercepting like fields of fires, at least with observation. We just sat there for a little bit, and it was actually the Estonian guy. Um, Called out that he sees orcs. And at that point, we all kind of got our bags, and two Ukrainian guys actually got the bags and started like, heading towards the exit. And it's like, how many? Like, how many? Like, are we leaving? Because again, we're a recon. Recon's mission is not supposed to necessarily engage. We're there for observation. We're not there to like pick a fight. And the Estonian guy was you know translating, of course, like back and forth with me. I couldn't see anything. But he was just telling me, he's like, "There's only a few. I see like 4." So at this point, we're thinking like, okay, it's another recon unit. Could take them. Um, like we're just kind of like waiting a little bit and just like, do we have a clear exit? Like, yes, we do have a clear exit. One Ukrainian guy stayed at the exit to make sure that we have that exit plan kind of golden and everything like that. And I asked the Estonian guy, Willem, fucking love this guy. I said, what's out there? I can't see anything. He looks at me. He's like, should I describe it to you, or do you want me to get you a box? And I realized he made a reference to like Lord of the Rings, when like Gimli, the little dwarf guy, and like he was looking over the wall, and all the orcs are coming over, and Gimli's like trying to hop up and down, like what's up there, like what's out there, and he's like, should I describe it to you, or should I find you a box? I realized, like, this cheeky bastard, like, you're not that taller than me, like, I mean, I'm not the tallest guy out here, but I mean, like, damn, like, I was actually the shortest guy out of all of those, the Ukrainians and the Estonian guy.
Huh.
Um, but, yeah, he was just, like, picking fun of me, saying I was like a dwarf or whatever. I'm 5'8", by the way, but anyways, um, it just I clicked on that, and I was just kinda, like, laughing. I was like, "You fucking asshole, like, what's out there?" And he's like, and he looks back out there, and he's like, "Oh, shit." Um He says they're running in, and not to say I kinda walked myself into this, but I did walk onto the box to look at the window. It was, like, one of those high, like, windows, in, like, the little kitchen area.
Uh,
I actually stepped on that and, looked down, and I saw there was, like, a squad of Russians, running in, to our building downstairs, and I was like, "Oh, fuck. Like, we gotta get the fuck out of here." Um, so we just grabbed their stuff. I had a backpack with some medical gear. I completely forgot about that. I just said fuck it because it was in a different room. We just got the fuck out of there. Um, and we had to cross that room where the floor was like caved in, so we had to kind of skirt around it. Um, and when we were skirting around it, the outside wall was a little bit exposed, not completely, but it's like a little like partially caved in. And I got a little bit of a vibe of like enemy at the gates, where like those guys are like trying to jump over that gap, and the sniper like shoots one of them, whatever. I was just like really hoping like this is not how I go out. Um, But I ran out of there, and then when we came down, we can hear them, like, clearing, like, the rooms downstairs, but we had to go downstairs ourselves, and at this point, it was me, the Estonian, and, like, 3 other, Ukrainians. 2 of them went, the other way. They said that, like, they're gonna, like, find another way down, and we just kinda stayed there and looking down the stairs, like, holding security, and then, we saw, like, the AK-74 kinda, like, go around the corner. And, I didn't shoot this time. It was Willem. I said I wasn't gonna say his name. It was Estonian. Um, he started just, like, shooting at him, and, they just panicked. I can hear them, like, shuffling their feet back, and, calling out in Russian and everything like that, like, "There's an enemy here." Um, and they just, like, yeah, they're just, like, shouting at each other, and Willem just kept on shooting and shooting and shooting until his mag was, like, empty. Then he went back to, like, reload, and just like clockwork, like, I went over there and just aimed down the stairs, to make sure they didn't pop out again. Um, and I heard, like, a little, um, like a metal ball kinda, like, bouncing. I didn't see it, but there was an explosion, like, further, down the hallway where the Russians were.
oh shit.
So I thought, like, "Okay, so they're just throwing it towards the stairs, they didn't throw it up the stairs." I was still fine, so I held my position. At this point, it was, like, full of, like, debris. And then I threw another grenade and another one. And at this point, like, the whole area is just being full of like debris, and we're just like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So me and Villain got together and pulled back, and we found out the 2 Estonian guys went there, and we're just like, shit, where did they go? So we went back down, and we saw one of them is like, he's like really pissed off, saying like, come, let's go, let's go. Like, they were calling our name, but we didn't hear. We didn't hear them calling out to us. So we got down, um, on like the outside like stairwell, and we followed them, and we just booked it. We just ran as fast as we can. We still hear more explosions going out there. Like, these guys just had a lot of grenades, and yeah, that's just how they're clearing out the area, I guess. But we just booked it, um, And yeah, we just kept on running and running, and I realized at that point, like, I'm not in shape as I was before. I was so out of breath. Again, it's cold air too, but also I haven't ran since I got out of the Marine Corps, which was like 6 months ago at this time. Um, so yeah, like my cardio, not my strong suit at the time. But yeah, I was really out of breath. I was hurting, but just kept on running until finally we got to a point where we stopped. We stopped to rest a little bit, and we just kept on walking. And I thought that was it. But we started hearing a little buzzing sound up ahead, and we started calling out like, that's a drone. So we got down, like hiding in the trees, I hid until like the buzzing kind of stopped, or we're trying to call out and see like if that's a Ukrainian drone or if it's an enemy one. We didn't want to take chances, so we just stayed under the trees and the brush and just kind of hid there for a good while. Um, Finally, it kind of passed, and we got up and we went back and reached the trenches, and it was kind of like a like holy crap, like it was intense. Like I was like the adrenaline that was like pulsing through my body was like intense. Like this time, thankfully, my right leg wasn't shaking again, but like I can feel myself kind of like doing a little light tremor. Like I drank too much coffee, kind of like tremble. Um, but like we all got out alive. It was fine. Um, we talked about like what mistakes we made. One of the guys left a in-law there. So we did leave an in-law there. I left my medical bag. Um, we didn't keep good like connecting files, and what I mean by connecting files is, if you're gonna have someone at an exit or at one point, you want to be able to kind of see each other or hear each other to pass information down along the line. Because once like shooting starts happening, it's gonna get chaotic. You're not gonna hear. It's not like we had comms. Like none of us had a radio or anything like that. Um, because they were trying to get us to come with them, but we got so tunnel vision into the like holding that stairwell that they secured an exit and were calling out to us, but we weren't coming because we couldn't hear, and they didn't want to run back and like run into Russians or anything like that. So it was just lucky that the Estonian guy noticed like they're not here, and and I noticed them. We were like, okay, let's get the fuck out of here. So we just booked it. Um, yeah, so like lessons learned. Like whenever you do patrol, whenever you go out and interact or like have an encounter with an enemy, you make mistakes, and not everything's got to go according to the plan. Um, so you want to kind of like mention those problems and kind of refine it. And I was very pleased to hear that like we came like now that we were like talking about all this, they decided to kind of keep our squad together. So like the next time there was like a mission we were going to go out, it was going to be us again. The cool thing for me was actually like half of those Ukrainians spoke pretty good English, and the other half spoke a little bit. So there wasn't a complete communication problem when it came to me. I didn't want to be the weakest link, so it was cool that they kind of got me in a little squad that actually could communicate with each other, and I wasn't so much like isolated and relying on Willem to translate for me. He still does, because I mean when things start happening and they're calling out to each other, they're not going to choose English over Ukrainian, so they still talk mostly in Ukrainian. And when the Russians were, when we had the incident that,
Oh, hold on.
uh, and so that's
Hold on. Okay. And okay, you're back. When we had the incident, continue.
oh yeah, when we had the incident, the it's not like the Ukrainians' first thought when you're really in the zone. When you got all that adrenaline rushing through you and everything like that. First thought isn't going to be communicating in English, so it's going to be their native language, which is Ukrainian. So that's what they did. And I'm just really grateful to have the Estonian to help me guide me through all of this.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, there'd be a serious communication problem if it wasn't for him. So very grateful for him. Yeah, we got out there. They kept us together. Got to know a few of them and everything like that. And one of these guys, he was telling me about like how he was actually like he has like a wife and like 3 kids. Um, another guy, he just graduated high school like last year. Um,
Jeez. Oh, one moment. I think his. Okay, getting there. Okay. Uh, there was a guy who had just gotten out of high school.
yeah, he just got out of high school. He wanted to be a photographer. There was one guy I found out was actually a veteran from like 2014. Um, when the whole like separatist was like happening. Yeah, when he was like fighting like the separatists in Ukraine and like the Donbass region. And he's actually got a lot of experience. I didn't realize it because he's still pretty young. Um, yeah, he didn't really look old at all. I thought like him being a veteran and seeing combat in that at that time in like 2014, he would be like look kind of old. I guess like some people just age like fine wine, but like he just seemed perfectly fine. Um, and, you know,
Oh, hold
I
on.
was and I just remember at this.
He seemed perfectly fine.
Yeah, he seemed like perfectly fine as far as like visually. He didn't seem like he has like severe PTSD or um, any kind of like that combat stress that just ages you like by like four years or anything like that. Yeah, he was like a really cool guy. He spoke a little bit of English, um, but yeah, we just kind of kept to that squad, and yeah, it came to the point where we would sit in the trenches even longer. Again, same trench, same spot. This time, we actually found out that we finally retook that town. Um, I those I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't want to say exactly where, but we were like southwest of Kiev in the Kiev Oblast. Um, but yeah, they took a major town and was able to push the Russians out of there. They're actually making ground, and we actually had to push forward where we actually passed our original trench position. Um, then we kept on going, and we found Russian positions. And oh my word, it was garbage. I mean, like you got like some fighting holes here, and you got a little small trench system here. It was just like candy wrappers. There was like Doritos,
Oh,
like there was just like junk food laying around, clothing, old socks, like the laundry was left there. Like the Russians were retreating, and I heard like the Russians were actually like pulling out of northern Ukraine. I was like, this is awesome, but like one of the basic things that we're taught, like in the Marine Corps, and that Ukrainians did a pretty good job at, was keeping your area clean because you want to minimize the amount of footprint that you have. It just left a huge, huge, huge mess. Like it was not sad at all. We even saw like a dead carcass of a dog that like was very obviously made a meal out of not long ago. But yeah, like they were just, oh, they're just very slobs. Like I can't believe that they were living like that in their like defense positions. Um, but yeah, we got word again that the Russians are continuing to retreat, and they're clearing out one of these roads for like mines. Um, and we're gonna push past that to try to like chase the Russians as like they pull out. Um, and this is even though I had like many like kind of scary moments, this is the one that I actually thought I was gonna die on. We pushed on foot. I had the same squad with me as well as like another squad. We had a total of 55 Ukrainians with us, not all bunched up together. It was my squad and another squad that were pushing out, and we're passing crossing the little wheat field. Um, and as we're crossing it, in the open, every fiber in my body was telling me this is a bad idea. But we kind of thought like, because of the tall wheat, like we can kind of like get through it undetected. Um, and large caliber machine gun started snapping over our heads, and are just like getting down as low as possible. We all did, and when the Ukrainians was like calling out, like like get down, get down, get down, and I kind of like just like low crawled over to the Estonian, and he told me it's like it's a BTR, like there's a BTR over there, and then you can hear like small arms fired, like firing at us. We just like low crawled out, and then until finally we just kind of got to like a little half crouch and started like getting the fuck out of there. But instead of like staying in a straight line, we just kind of booked it um, at an angle. So because we knew that they knew we were over here, um, so we just kind of booked it off to the side. We didn't want to like get caught by the bullets from behind, so we booked it out of there. We started running away. Um, we thought the Russians were retreating. Guys, these three BTRs, actually, you can hear the engines moving, and they're actually coming down the road parallel to us as we're running away. And I thought, like, oh shit, like this is fucking bad. Um, they're not retreating. They're like right now, like they're advancing towards us, and like maybe like the whole word was just maybe propaganda, or just trying to like give lift our spirits by saying the Russians were retreating, because they were actually like advancing towards us. Um, and it was honestly the guy, like I honestly thought I was gonna die there. It's like seeing over like the wheat, those BTRs rolling down that road parallel to us. But they're shooting like ahead of us, towards where this tree line was, and the front BTR got hit by two rockets, um, and the other two actually pulled away. And I remember the crewmen of that BTR actually got out, and they got out alive from what I could see. They got out and they fucked off. Um, and when that happened, the small arms fire stopped too. Um, we just kind of pulled back out. And right when we reached the trench line, or not, excuse me, the trench line, the tree line, I turn around and we can see like the Russians like kind of moving, and we decided to like just start shooting at them. And as we're like shooting at them, they shot it back at us, as they're like peeling away. And I turned around, we start running back, and then I actually got. I thought at the time, Willem, or saying his name, the Estonian, I thought he actually pushed me. I was actually really pissed off because he pushed me hard, like really freaking hard, right in my back and shoved me down to the ground. I turned around and I looked at him. I was like, "Don't fucking do that again!" Like, fuck, dude, that hurt. Like, I felt like maybe I thought he like took his like rifle and like used the butt of the rifle to like push me down or something. Because it
Oh, uh,
uh,
hold on. VR chat moment. This to be a VR chat moment. Uh, uh, getting there. I can tell when it's fixed usually. How's chat doing? How's everybody doing in chat? Enjoying the stream?
Yeah, I realized I didn't open up for many questions.
Okay.
I've
You
been
said
talking.
so you were at you thought he used the butt of his rifle.
Yeah, or something hard. Like there's no way it could have been like a squishy hand. That like pushed me down. Um, it was like it was like a really rough like push, and I thought he was just trying to get me down to like duck away from the bullets because the return fire wasn't accurate. It was just like some light suppression as they were like pulling back. Actually, from what I can tell, actually did it really well. Like I don't know why people think the Russians don't have tactics. They were actually doing a very proper like retreat, kind of like a reverse bounding um, into the woods. Their tree line was a lot more thicker than ours, to the point where it was like basically like a wood line, um, or excuse me, like a full like. Um, so I was really pissed off that he shoved me because I fell really down really hard and really hurt my like finger on the way down. Um, to the point where it's like, it was like purple and like kind of like swollen and stuff. I can still bend it like slightly, but this I was just pissed off at the time. Like I didn't need him pushing me down like that. But when we actually got back to friendly lines, um, I wanted to go talk to him about that because our little squad debrief thing. I was like, "Hey, man, like, don't fucking do that again. Like, I love you. Like, you're my brother. Um, don't push me like that." And he's like, "I didn't push you. You got shot." I'm like, "What?"
Oh shit.
And I didn't believe him. I'm just like, "There's no way." Because I had plates on. Like, they probably make a loud, really ding or something like that. Um, but we took my flak off on the back. There was like a small entry hole through my camelback. And then on the outside, you can see it just kind of like ricocheted and like shrapnel just like piercing all of the backside. And
Fucking hell.
I just thought like, holy shit, I got shot. And what made it worse was um, the direction at the time when I was facing the rear was friendly fire. It wasn't the Russians. I got shot by a Ukrainian who just, fog of war. We didn't know who was who. Um, And we found out from, like, when that happened and what the direction was and why when we pulled out, some of the additional fire that was, like, adjacent from us was the other squad of Ukrainians that thought we were Russians flanking them, and they actually shot me, I was just like, "Holy fuck." Like, that's not the way I wanna die.
Yeah.
Like, to get killed by friendly fire, but, I mean, I had the plate on, and, I mean, I definitely recommend it. It was like level 3, plus, I think. It worked. It didn't kill me, but it definitely hurt like a motherfucker. Like didn't leave any bruising or anything on me. Um, but it definitely knocked me down, and it definitely didn't feel good. I don't know. I felt like somebody just really pushed me really hard, like um, and it kind of reminded me of I had a squad leader that told me he got shot in the back in Afghanistan. So I just made a little mental note, like I get home, I need to ask him, like if it was like the same thing for him. Um, but yeah, so like we got out of there, and like shortly after, we found out that the Russians retreated completely out of Kiev, Oblast, like in like one day. Like there was no like chasing or anything like that. Um, yeah, actually it was a good feeling. A lot of Ukrainians were like really fucking happy, and there was a lot of celebrations. Like um, not like a party or anything like that, but like giving each other bro hugs and stuff like that, going like, fuck yeah, like fuck those orcs. Um, and it was very quickly that people were getting rounded up to go be shifted to a new front. And at this point, like my 3 weeks weren't necessarily up. I had like 5 more days. Um, how many days did I have? Maybe like 6 days. When no, I had like five. Yeah, it was like 5 days left. Um, when they finally came to me and the Estonian guy and said like, "We're going to shift you guys over here." And the commander told me, so it's like, "So are you going to be here forever, or are you going to be a chicken shit and leave?" And I don't know. I had to really think about it. I'm just like, he didn't give me time to think about it. It's like, I don't want you to think about it. I want your answer now. Like, are you here for Ukraine, or are you gonna leave like the rest of chicken foreigners? Like he really had like a personal vendetta against some foreigners. It sounds like, um, it's not like I got the background or anything of, like why um, exactly, but yeah, he pretty much just kind of told me, is like, if I'm gonna leave, now's the time. And I kind of remember what I said about to the British kid, don't throw your life away, and Ukraine's gonna be here forever. And I was like, like you guys got this. Like you guys, I don't know, like but before, like when we had like those several days of kind of relaxation when they were rearranging everyone, I'm not gonna lie, I did call my ex. Um, or more like she called me, and I was getting like a bunch of bombardment texts from my parents saying like, "Hey, are you live? Like, contact me and stuff like that. And I had a nice talk with my ex, and she was telling me was like, "Oh, I regret leaving you," and stuff like that. And she said that she's gonna pick me up at the airport when I get back, and that's something I always kind of wanted. Like when I joined the Marine Corps, um, I wanted to deploy, go out there, get that sense of adventure that us younglings always want when we join the Marine Corps. When we're young and 18 and super motivated, and know, fantasize about seeing combat and be like a war hero or whatever, or a veteran, hold that status. I wanted to go do all that and then come back and like be able to like, have loved ones and embrace them. Like those videos make me cry every time I see them. Um, just when soldiers like come back home and they're embracing like their families and the kids and stuff like that. I was like, I really want that. And like me and the Estonian guy, like he's my fucking brother. Like, I've never been that close to anyone in my life before. But at the same time, it's like I got a good job. Like I got a good job. I can come back home. Russia just retreated. Like Ukraine's gonna win shortly, right? I mean, that's what I was telling myself in my head. Um, and the Estonian guys is like, hey, like brother, you got this. Like I'm gonna stay here, but I'm gonna stay safe. Don't like, I promise you. I'm just like, fuck. Like let me go home. I'm gonna get things sorted, and then I think I might come back. Um, yeah, it's like, I think I'm gonna come back. And he's like, all right, hey, like we exchanged WhatsApp numbers and stuff. And um, yeah, and he he went off and I went off. Um, took a while to get across the border, but I finally did. And when I did, um, I stayed a little bit in oh, what was that place called? I'm having a brain fart. I'm so sorry. I stayed in a city in Poland for like 3 days.
Mhm.
It's driving me nuts. I can't remember the name. But yeah, I mean, I just stayed there for a little bit, just kind of like unwind, um, have some like Polish food, relax a little bit. Met a Ukrainian girl, also named Stella, a coincidence, and kind of had a little date with her almost, like in a cafe and stuff like that. I didn't really talk about me going to Ukraine, but it was kinda cool, like talk to her and stuff like that. And um, yeah, and she's been living in Poland for a long time, so she didn't just come there during, like, the whole refugee stuff. But it was cool just to, like, sit down with a pretty girl and just kinda have, like, coffee and talk to her and everything like that. And I realized, my return flight was actually really soon, um, because when you go to Poland, you can't just go there on, like, a one-way flight. You have to have, like, a return ticket.
Right.
I realized I had a return ticket, like, tomorrow, and I was like, "Oh, shit," like, "I gotta go." So, like, I kinda cut the date short. Like, she was, like, saying, like, "Oh, we should meet tomorrow and do something." I didn't actually get to do it. Like, she was just interested 'cause I was, like, the first American she met. Oop. Um, but, I mean, which is kinda interesting. I kinda felt bad because I didn't have a haircut. My facial hair and head hair was just all over the place. I did not look properly groomed. I'm just like, "For the record, I promise you, not all Americans are like this. We're arrogant bastards, but I promise you we're better cleaned and, groomed and stuff like that." Um, and the weird thing is I only brought, like, camo with me, and at the hotel where I had, like, some civilian clothes, all I had was, like, jeans, and I was still, like, wearing, like, my camo, like, jacket on, just, like, walking around town. Um, but the fast forward, like, eventually got on that plane. And, um, man, that plane ride actually really sucked because the entire time it was like I basically retraced my steps. I went back to flew to Finland, then from Finland back to like JFK, and then went home
Mhm.
after the next flight. Not gonna reveal what state I'm from,
Yeah.
but uh, yeah, during that flight though, my head was under a lot of excruciating pain. Um, like I had like the biggest headache ever. I was like eating some of the pretzels. I asked for my pretzels. I was drinking water. Maybe I just had too much coffee or something like that. It was just my head was just killing me. It was not like it was excruciating. Like honestly, I get my head was hurting really bad. I thought like I had developed a migraine or something like that. I never had a migraine before. Um, and I kind of once I finally got off the plane, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was more just thinking of like remedies to kind of get over that. I kind of concluded that maybe like artillery kind of did some damage to my head. Not saying I'm special needs or anything now, but I think just like the pressure of the plane. I never actually researched this. I probably should if I'm going to be talking about it. So if someone has more expertise in this, by all means, tell me about it. I haven't been on a yeah. When I went on the plane, my head was just killing me. And I think it was because of the artillery just really rocked my head
Mm.
a bit. To being up in the air so high up in the elevation just really caused a lot of pressure or something. It's just my theory.
Yeah, you might have had
Um,
hearing damage, either hopefully temporary hearing damage that was getting affected by the pressure change. That sounds, yeah.
oh, for sure, yeah. Um, but I don't know. That's just my theory. I don't want to speak that as like fact. Only fact that I know is that I was in an airplane. At when we had altitude, my head was fucking killing me and it hurt bad, and that's just my theory
Yeah.
of why it was hurting. Um, did get better later on because I did do more flights later on in the year. To the point where it wasn't like that excruciating, but during that time, it was not pleasant.
You want to hear
Um,
a depressing but funny thing that someone said in chat?
yeah, absolutely.
In quotations, your hearing loss and splitting migraines are not service related.
Now, funny thing about that, I got it. So I had the VA, right? I got my compensation. They say tinnitus, all right, the ringing in your ear. They said that was I got my claim for that. Right? I think it's like 10% on my compensation claim for that. Then on my hearing loss, it says not service related. Pissed me off.
What?
Like yeah, this is like okay, so my hearing loss is not service related. My tinnitus is like you guys are just pulling my leg at this point.
That's
So yeah,
ridiculous.
it's funny that he made that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a little bit personal actually. um, but yeah, that was oh man. Um, coming home was actually um, I mentioned like what I really wanted is like, I always wanted to come back home and just just have s- someone like that I loved to like kind of embrace and stuff like that. Um, no, she didn't pick me up at the airport. I guess there's a good reason why that person should stay in as an ex, but yeah, she said
Mm.
she was gonna go pick me up, and then when I landed in JFK and I had to stay there the night and wait for my next flight to go to the state that I lived in. I told her I was like, You're gonna pick me up," and she just stopped replying. And I went there and I spent like $80 on an Uber ride to get back home.
What the
Um,
hell?
yeah, so like I don't know. It's just I went back home. Um, kind of skipped over this part, but I said I had a dog. I actually had like two dogs. Um, I did give away one of them to somebody else to watch over. I just have my one little blue healer. But when I picked them up, I was slapped in the face with a whopping like $4,000 um, cost for having them in their little daycare area. And I should
Seriously?
have told them when I yeah, it was $4,000. And I told them like if I don't come back at this date, either I'm staying in Ukraine or I'm dead. And I was being very upfront with them. It's like, so if I'm not back, please find a home for my dogs. But yeah, just going over there for like a little daycare kennel. And they were glad I was back. Um, one, just glad to meet my dogs. Um, I brought them back home. One of them puked in my car. That was fun. I just got back home and just kind of sat there, and I just felt that like lonely and like emptiness again. And I was like, I don't know, like it just didn't feel right. And I started having a lot of guilt. Like I started really feeling bad that I left Ukraine, and I miss my dogs, of course, but like I'm in a house by myself. I got out of the military recently. All my military friends either PCS to like they changed duty stations, so they're not in the local area anymore where I got the house. They moved off. I don't have any friends in the local area. Um, I definitely didn't have the ex that. I mean, she contacted me earlier later saying like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I missed it." Like, yeah, okay. It was just lonely. Honestly, it was depressing. Um, I finally decided like, okay, let me tell people I'm home. I told my parents and I told my best friends that live out of state. Um, and of course, the first thing they want to do is just ask me about it. Like, oh, how was it? How was it? Were the Russians really as bad as they say? Did you kill any tanks? Did you kill any Russians? Like, that's all they want to fucking know. Um, and like, I don't know. I didn't want to answer them at first because part of I was worried about keeping my job because again, like being a foreign fighter for a different country would make me lose my clearance and I would lose my job.
Right.
Um, so I was like, I don't want to say anything on Facebook. So I was really worried about that. To the point I was actually like really paranoid, and I waited like a while. To finally, I just started talking a little bit about it. But my best friends like they're into guns a lot and they're into football a lot, but they just didn't care. They didn't care what was going on in Ukraine. Um, I heard certain news was happening, and I was like trying to talk about it, and they just quickly changed the conversations about like gun parts and like football or like the new Marvel movie and something like that. And I just couldn't get my mind off it. So I contacted some of my veteran friends, one that I never actually met, but I'm staying in contact with him since high school. Like he was a veteran, combat veteran in Iraq and Afghanistan well before I even joined the Marine Corps. But I was talking to him, and I found a lot of like kind of bit of therapy in there. Like I still didn't want to like talk about it with him. He knew, so he didn't try to press it. Uh, a rifle in my house, and I was telling him like I was just like staring at it. I just looked at that rifle differently now. Like it was, I had an M1A Scout, and I was just like staring at it. Just I don't know, just I just looked at guns differently, and I was just looking at it. He got a little bit worried. He's like, "You're not thinking about using it, are you?" I was like, "Oh no, 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 no. I promise, I'm not gonna use it against anybody." He's like, "No, no, no. I know you're not gonna use it against anybody. I'm talking about you're not gonna use it on yourself, are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. I promise. I'm good. I'm good." He's like, "Okay, but like I can tell you're depressed, man." Like I just at that point I didn't want people being worried about me, so I just kind of gave people what they wanted to hear. When people ask like how was
Oh,
um,
hold on.
you
When
know,
people would ask, like,
about Ukraine, I kind of just told them what I thought they wanted to hear, or what they were seeing. Because I don't want I kind of feel like if they kind of saw what I was kind of seeing, um, because I didn't mention a whole lot of like Ukrainians dying, but um, yeah, actually, I guess I kind of skipped that part. I'm sorry about that, but um, there's definitely a lot of Ukrainians that died. Not so much my squad that I had. We all made it out alive, at least when I was there. Um, but the some guys adjacent from us, like when those BTRs were coming by, like 5 Ukrainians were killed. Um,
ugh,
there was more drone strikes, artillery. You know, a lot of Ukrainians did die, and I didn't see a lot of dead Russians. There's the one I shot. Um, and all the interactions I had, like it's not like I really saw like any Russians like fall or die. Really. Um, the only time I really remember seeing some dead Russians besides then was my way over. There was like a wagon being pulled with a bunch of Russians' dead bodies just like stacked on top of it, being pulled away. Um, you know, um, yeah, I mean, it just I was glad that I met the people I did, and the experience was definitely something. Um, I try to keep it short, but it felt like I was there for 3 weeks, roughly,
Hmm.
and it felt like months. One day just didn't feel like a day. It felt way longer than that. Um, Coming back home, I kind of almost expected things to change, but like nothing really changed. Um, I pay attention to the news or some good YouTube sources and Google. Look at some maps of like the updates of like the war in Ukraine. I follow that. I follow everything that's happening in Ukraine. Like people follow like their favorite football team. Um,
Because you're rooting for him.
yeah, I was just like rooting for them, but they really did fall under some really thick crowd of depression, especially when um, Sevastopol was fallen and Russia was taking a lot of ground and pushing the Ukrainians back. Um, at that point, I started back working and stuff like that, and again, I just kind of tell people what they want to hear. Like, there's like, yeah, like, "Oh, the Russians really as bad as they are, as they say they are?" Like, "Yeah, yeah, like, they suck. Trust me, like, they don't have good training at all. Like, Ukraine's gonna win this." And I'm saying that as, like, I see, like, Ukraine losing ground and, to the point I just didn't wanna talk anymore. Yeah, I didn't talk to my friends. I didn't, um or whenever I did, it was, like, very short messages, and I just tried to, like, pretend like things were fine. Um I did talk to that squad leader that said he got shot in the back, and he said it was like a sledgehammer. I wouldn't say I felt like I got hit in the back with a sledgehammer, but that's how he described it. I showed him pictures and I talked to him. I found a little bit of counselship with him about it, but at the same time, he only experienced what was experienced in Afghanistan. He was never hit by artillery and or had a BTR come after him,
Hmm.
um, or be like pinned down in a wheat field with you know small arms and large caliber rounds hitting around you, or have a bunch of Russian throw grenades at you in an apartment complex. But um, I decided I got the bright idea like I want to. There's got to be other veterans out there. I didn't really meet any. By really, I mean I didn't meet any Americans out there, but there's definitely American volunteers fighters out there, right? So I just YouTube searched some like volunteer fighters there, and it was mostly positive. Like one guy, that was kinda cool, his experience seemed very similar to me, um, 'cause he mentioned coming in around the same time when I crossed the border, um, but he was talking about, like, how, like, the Russians were, like, really bad at fighting, like, retreating, and, they were just going from one town to another town, just liberating, 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 like, I didn't get that, like, I retreated twice, um, yeah, like, I ran away twice, um, yeah, 'cause, like, yeah, I don't know, like, I was listening to other ones, and their experiences sounded a lot more positive, and they're just more, um, seemed unfazed by it. And here I am, like a little depressed, little mess. I don't know, I just felt embarrassing. Um, yeah, I felt like really embarrassing, and I didn't even want to get back in the dating world and stuff like that. Um, to finally kind of like force myself to, I was like, I got to get out of the house. Like, I'm just here with my dogs, going from work back home, and I'm just watching, paying attention to all these news on Ukraine. It's just, I think, was just feeling more depression. Um, I did start dating a girl again. Um, Really my type, but it got me out of the house, and it kind of took me away from like looking at the media and following the news. And I realized I was getting a little bit out of a depression. I was starting feeling a little bit better, but eventually broke up with her. Just wasn't it. Um, but yeah, I mean, the good news is Ukraine has taken back so much more territory. And I'm so grateful for that. My friend, the Estonian, um,
Oh.
I don't actually know what happened to him. I haven't heard anything, but it's not like, um, just he hasn't just texted back or anything in a long time, and I don't know. I feel like he would find some time to um, message me back or something. But
Yeah.
um, I did ask my friend on Facebook that was Ukrainian. He's still living in Kiev since the beginning of the invasion. I still keep in touch with him. He actually just went on his first date yesterday. um, I was like really happy to hear about that. But yeah, I asked him once, like, is there like a roster where you can like find out if like who died or anything like that? It seems like Ukraine kind of keeps those casualty numbers like hidden or like the names and stuff. And I found out like Estonians aren't even allowed in Ukraine to go fight. I don't even know how he got there or if he was there beforehand. Like, there's just so many questions I didn't like. I don't know, but like that was my brother. So like, I don't know. I hope like later on he just messages me back. Says, makes fun of me for crying over him, but I'm glad I would take that over anything. But I haven't heard back from him. I'm afraid that he's um I'm afraid that he's dead or something. Like, um he was a damn good guy. You know, he wanted the kind of same thing that I wanted when he got back home. Like, he didn't have a good relationship with his family, and I don't want to say too much personal things about his life, but um, um, I was hoping that when he got back home, like he would actually that warm welcome. And I don't know. I really hope like I'm not. I'm just assuming the worst, and he's actually okay. But um, since like 2 days after I left, and I told him I was home safe, like I've not heard back from him,
Mm.
and I knew he was heading for the front, and that's what also kind of caused a lot of the depression was seeing all those grounds that the Russians were taking. Um, hold on, I gotta plug in the headphone.
No worries.
Uh, but fuck, when men cry. Yeah.
You're doing
I don't
great.
know. He was definitely my brother, man. Like, um, yeah. I don't know, maybe like he lost his phone, and it's not like his phone can transfer over. He gets another phone or something, or um, I just don't know. I think that's what really kind of kills me too is the unknown. Um, Mentally, I'd say I'm doing better though. Um, there's definitely some things with PTSD. Um, sorry. Um,
You're good.
um, I remember driving my Jeep at the time. I got a truck now, but I was driving a Jeep, and um, I guess some people have like these whistles on the cars. It's supposed to like scare away wildlife so they don't cross the road and hit the car or something. I had my windows down. I drove by, and um, my heart nearly like jumped out my chest because I thought it was artillery or something.
Oh,
Um, but that doesn't bother me anymore, actually. Like, or at least I don't have similar experiences like that happening to me still. But um, I don't know. I'm not an expert on like PTSD and stuff like that. Um, I just don't. I just know what it is with me. I just know that I do have um, dreams, or I'd say nightmares. Um, that's a thing. Following the news of what's happening and the dead, and people dying, and seeing the comments of people like you know whether like the Russian trolls or not, and just like bashing the Ukrainians. It just really eats at me, and it just pisses me off. Like, um, you know, to be honest, like you're actually the first one I talked to about it, and it was actually very liberating, and it actually took a lot of weight off my chest because, like, again, I was honestly embarrassed. Like, I went there for 3 weeks. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I kind of understand now why like the commanders is kind of like I'm kind of laughs at it. Like, who just says like I'm just gonna go to war for 3 weeks and then come back home? Yeah, I did do that, but I did get home. Um, but not everyone else does. So it's like this is a lot of guilt and it's it's a bit embarrassing. Um, I don't know. I kind of feel like I was a coward almost for deciding to leave because like I chose coming back home to the safety of my home, and I feel like I was just trying to cope and pretend like the reason I went is because I knew Ukraine got this. I was just telling myself that like Ukraine's got this. They don't need me. I just want to go back to my ex. I mean, shit, man. Like, how embarrassing is that? Like, um, but I would say I'm doing better now. Though I met an old high school sweetheart, and um, I moved in with her, and I'm actually doing a lot better mentally. I find the kids' constant need for attention and me dealing with them actually to be very distracting, and it takes me away from all those experiences, and to find some of them actually like very compatible with and do very well romantically, and um, like she doesn't know like how much that she's really helped me, and these kids have helped me. Um, you know, they've done me a world of a favor, and she keeps on telling me like, "Oh, I can never like you really helped me out so much. Like you deserve so much more." And like you don't understand. Like you're doing so much for me too that I haven't even talked to her about. Like she has an idea that I was over there, but I don't talk to her about it, and I don't want that stress on her. And frankly, I don't want to talk about it again. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, no, I do want to say like I really appreciate you having your channel and the opportunity to get people, and you give me an opportunity to just talk about it. Granted, I'm still paranoid about the whole job and clearance and stuff like that, but just to get it
Mm.
off my chest and talk about it, um, I think really helps. And I heard actually from your videos, somebody said something like the more you talk about it, the more you're just reliving a time you told a story or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
I think hopefully I can talk more about that, but um, I honestly consider myself fortunate. Um, I don't want to sound like a bitch or anything, but um, I'm very grateful for what Ukrainians are doing, and my belief of what they're doing is still stands. It's not fluctuated at all. I still think that they um, are honestly doing the world a favor. Like you know, when they say like Slava Ukraini, like Heroam Slava is like the next part. Glory to Ukraine, glory to its heroes, and um, I really hold his words true to like my heart. 'Cause to them, like to me, like they're my heroes. They, I really think they're doing the world a favor. I can imagine having Russia as a neighbor.
Yeah.
um, you know, it just really sucks, and I really do believe if Ukraine doesn't stop them, they won't stop at Ukraine. So I think it's very important that we continue to support them, and it still drives me crazy that most of my friends really don't give a shit for what's going on in Ukraine. And nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to hear about it. Like, um, so part of it was like, not that I couldn't talk about it. It was like more like I didn't have anyone to talk about it. So I already said it, but again, I gotta thank you. Just like let me voice it out, and you know, hopefully people can just know that um, what's going on over there, and there's some brave fucking men out there like fighting and good people, and I don't want them to be forgotten. Um, and I don't want their sacrifice to be taken for granted either. Um, I don't consider myself like a hero at all. I barely did anything. Um, you know, in my eyes though, like they're definitely heroes, and they deserve every bit of our support. And I hope they keep kicking Russia's fucking ass until all of Ukraine's liberated.
Yeah.
And my friend that's still in Kiev can finally stop going to the bomb shelter and actually just like live his fucking life. Like he went on the first date since the war started. It was a girl that came from Italy. She was Ukrainian, and she came over to go see him, and had a really nice date. And he showed me pictures. Like she's a beautiful girl, and like I'm really happy for him. Like things are slowly starting to become normal for Ukrainians there. Even though like Russia's like hitting civilian infrastructures, like he says, like things are still fine. Like it's only scheduled power outage. Like they're still living the life, like trying to be like normal again. Like they still have parties, cafes are still open. Still gets his coffee every morning. He still goes outside, plays skateboard. Uh, and every time he hears like the like missiles and her going overhead or like impacting the distance, he's just so accustomed to it, and it's just crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Um, that that also kind of feeds away in my guilt too. Is like I don't want to tell him everything I experienced either because I want to give him hope too. So I kind of also kept it a little bit positive of what's going on. Um, yeah, I guess I'll just open up to the chat if anyone has any questions. I'll try to be as open as possible. Just understand that there's some things that um, I won't be willing to say, especially to change to like personal things like my job or if anyone really hates my ex for not picking me up and not giving her name, leave her out of it. um, but yeah, I guess I'll just open up to you, or if you have any questions.
Well, my main question is, how do you feel about using this talk that you've had? One day I think the idea of showing this to hopefully your future children, because the goal is obviously to be their father, and it sounds like you're doing a good
Yeah,
job of having that role already. I think one day if they get to see this, they will absolutely see you as a hero, and that's correct. I think it's incredible that you not only did this all voluntarily, but you did it with such passion and put in 110% to make sure that you did everything that could be done. And even if you hadn't given all of that energy, which you did amazingly, you still survived a war zone fighting for a foreign nation's military.
I mean, never really thought about sharing it with these kids when they get older. Um, Honestly, it's kind of blissful seeing how ignorant they are of the world. Um,
Yeah.
they barely even know why it's bad to talk to strangers yet, and um, I don't know. I guess ignorance is bliss. Um, I definitely want them to live a happier life. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'll find out if I decide to like show them or talk to them about it. If I do, for some reason, decide to talk to him about it um, in the future, it might be like in person. And if I can't do that, showing the video might actually make it a lot easier too.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they answer that quite yet, since I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
but
the main thing
might skip
is,
some parts too.
yeah, I think you
Um,
say that they don't even know why they can't talk to strangers yet. That's a very good point. They're not ready for that yet. But when the day comes
yeah,
that you've decided as an adult in their life that they are ready to know how the world works and the bad parts, I think your perspective as someone who fought evil with everything you had is an amazing one for them to hear.
Yeah, I definitely will probably say something, especially if the little boy, if, when he grows older, if he suddenly decides he wants to join the military. I'm definitely gonna give him that talk and just let him know the same talk that my dad gave me. My dad's also a veteran.
Hmm.
He had a lot of friends die, and he gave me that talk too. And I still said, I'm gonna go. That's what I want. Still gonna go for it. And give my two older brothers that talk, and they kind of chickened out. Um, so I see myself giving them the same talk, at least if they want to do that. Um, I'll give them a more serious talk if, in that regards. But I'll probably leave out certain things like, um, yeah, I don't know. I still,
Oh, hold on.
I still feel like, um, I think the first, that Russian, I don't want to call them an orc, because they are people. Um, I think Putin is evil through and through. I think that man's way too ambitious, and he's got his country really controlled, especially the propaganda. But I know Russians got families to go to too, and I think about that a lot too. It still kind of feels like murder. Um, not at all how like I pictured it either. Like I thought I was gonna be like on a battlefield or something, or when I went into that apartment, maybe that would be like a kind of scenario where I'd get my first kill. Not like shooting a man that's no threat to me. Um, I
I
don't think I'd want to tell them that because I don't want to change their perspective of me too. Um, and yeah, did I survive a war zone? Um, yeah, but and the things I mentioned, like I don't think of it as like a whole lot. It didn't make a huge impact. I mean, I know that's unrealistic to think of one man to do. Um, yeah, no, it's definitely not. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm someone to praise because I still left. I feel like I should have stayed. Um, at least stayed with my friend. Like that was I never had anyone closer. Um, I've never been as close to anyone that I can call like an actual brother. Like not even in the Marine Corps. Um, like I could with him with the Estonian,
hmm
and yeah, I don't know, I left him. Um, I don't know. I don't honestly. I don't know what to say. Like I just don't think I deserve any kind of praise or like any kind of like feedback to say like I still did good or anything. Like I just don't see it that way. Um, it's kind of like leaving a job like unfinished. Um, yeah, just definitely want people to know that the real heroes are definitely those Ukrainians fighting for the home. Like that guy that told me to not loot that apartment when I was trying to take like a teacup and some rags. He was telling me like, these people want to come back home, and I believe that eventually that's what's gonna happen. Um, at least I'm really hopeful.
You
Yeah,
definitely did good.
I don't know if I answered all your questions.
You did amazing. Absolutely. Okay, now everyone is in chat. Everyone in chat is asking me to give you a hug. So come here.
How does this work? I take a knee. Oh, you're floating. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right.
Well, there you go, everyone. That was truly amazing to hear.
All right.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. Honestly, yeah, it really does help me out a lot. It's good to get it off my chest. And I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're doing. and hearing people out, like myself. So, yeah, just thank you for what you do. Like doing a good service.
Thank you. You're one to talk. All right.
All right.
Well, there we go, everyone.
All I
Thank you
got.
so much
Yeah.
for watching. I will hopefully see you tomorrow for my next stream. Bye, everyone.